Imagine being the victim of a crime only to have the offender released just years later, a few miles or even blocks from your home. That was the possibility two area women faced recently, and now they're fighting for changes in the system. News 8's Mike Thompson now joins us with this News 8 Investigates report.
Martha, we found that victims don't have a say on a consistent basis in where the offender in their case will be released after they serve their prison sentence. It's something two area women hope will end with either a change in state law or a change in policy. A warning, some of the content in this story is graphic. As a longtime reporter with the Juneau County Messenger, Eva Marie Woywood knows how to use the power of the pen. But it's her own personal story, one that goes beyond her byline, that's now helping give others a voice.
I'm a survivor of child sexual assault and domestic violence and sexual assault as an adult.
In 2007, Eva's husband of 18 years, a longtime alcoholic, attacked her in their own home.
He was on a 3-day drinking binge, and he came to the house and I was working on an article, and I was on my laptop, and something inside me told me I needed to record this.
I'm not going to leave you. Live your life like you want to. You've got to go through me.
For over an hour, he physically, verbally, and sexually assaulted her in front of their two sons who were 9 and 13 at the time.
You can hear on the recording my youngest son hitting his father with a baseball bat, trying to stop him.
Her husband was arrested and eventually agreed to a plea deal. He was sentenced to 8 years in state prison. Eva was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life.
Being part of a rural community, rumors spread kind of fast. And when my ex-husband was arrested and put in prison, my children had to deal with the rumors. You know, it was very hurtful for them at the time. There's just so much isolation in a rural community. You know, when you call the police, it could be the guy you sit next to at church. You know, you go to human services, it's your abuser's aunt.
Eva knew she couldn't sit by quietly in the shadows.
I decided that I was going to take ownership of my story. So I started a blog, and I started telling my story, and it was through that I found healing.
Her blog led to something she calls When I Became Free, the Heartland Project.
I know there's other survivors out there, and I know they felt as isolated as I did. I wanted to change the conversation from why does she stay to when I became free, whereas the victims have the voice.
Eva uses the internet and social media to reach out to survivors across the Midwest to have them tell their story.
I reached out to a stranger.
Survivors like Thomas Kelly Bunker.
I was sexually assaulted by my father, my biological father, pretty much my entire childhood.
Eva's project helped Kelly break her silence about her own painful past. Just 6 days before her 18th birthday, Kelly gave birth to the first of 3 boys, all the result of her father raping her.
After the first child was born, the cops and social services showed up again, and he grabbed the baby. He said, "If you say anything, I'll be up, or I'll kill him before they come up to get me." So he was constantly threatening me.
When Kelly was 21, she was finally able to escape the nearly 2 decades of incest and threats with the help of someone she met in an internet chat room. Kelly's father ended up going to prison for 11 years.
It took a lot for me to get to where I'm at now. I was a cutter really bad, and I had ended up with a really bad infection and almost died from it. And from that moment on, I've wanted to survive.
And while both Kelly and Eva survived, their nightmare wasn't over yet.
As a victim, I feel like once the sentencing gavel hits, we're kind of left out in the cold. The system kind of just forgets about us.
Earlier this year, Eva's now ex-husband was released from prison, and just 2 months ago, Kelly's father finished serving his sentence. Both say the Department of Corrections left them in the dark before their abusers were set free.
They weren't informing me of anything, and I had called his probation officer, and nobody was telling me anything until the last minute.
especially with sex offenders. When they're released back to their community. I knew that's what DOC was going to tell me. But so I made that call, and that's exactly what they told me.
In Eva's case, the DOC was planning to release her ex-husband into what's called a Transitional Housing Placement, or TLP, the only one in the area just down the road from where she was living.
And nobody was listening to me. This is 6 blocks from my house. This is a man who threatened my life for over a year, repeatedly telling me he was going to burn down the house after he killed me.
Kelly's father was set to be released just 10 miles from her home.
Victims, I think, deserve, after everything they've been through, to know at least 6 months in advance on what's going on with the offender reentry.
The process and the whole system, the way it's set up, works against victims. We legally have no say on where offenders should go.
Eva called DOC officials repeatedly for about a year and even involved State Representative Ed Brooks to try to get the placement of her ex-husband changed. It eventually worked.
Victims shouldn't have to contact their legislator just to say, my offender's being released. I'd like to have some knowledge, some input as to where that person is going to be released to.
Because of Eva's case, Representative Brooks has come up with a proposal to try to give victims a voice in the offender reentry process.
We're moving forward to where we're going to be meeting with Department of Corrections officials and ask them to change their policy. And I guess as a backup, if they refuse to, we are prepared to, again, then introduce legislation.
This might just be the most important story of Eva's career, one that might not appear on the front page of the paper, but a story that helps right a wrong.
I'm a reporter. I know how to organize around the cause. What happens when it's a 20-year-old girl who has no idea, you know, or people who haven't found their voice yet?
Now, Representative Brooks actually met with DOC officials last week, and I'm told that meeting was productive, and he is hopeful to see some internal policy changes in the next couple of months. The DOC declined an on-camera interview request with us, but released this statement to me before the meeting. It reads, in part, the Wisconsin Department of Corrections as a whole is committed to working collaboratively with victims and stakeholders to be sure that victims' needs are a priority and that we are responsive and sensitive to those needs. We continually review our policies to ensure that victims are at the forefront of our mission and daily operations, end quote. You can read that full statement on our website at news8000.com.
And thanks to people like Eva and Kelly who are willing to share their stories, that we even know that this is going on.
Absolutely. That's what I wanted to say. First of all, just courageous women to be able to sit in front of a camera and tell their story like that.
Well, give us an idea. So how are they doing today?
Well, they're both doing pretty well. Obviously, with both of their attackers, abusers out of prison now, there is some fear there, as you can imagine. Kelly does have a son. She is raising a son on her own. The children that were born as a result of the incest are living with an adopted family. She unfortunately lost parental rights living in the aftermath of the abuse, but she does receive some periodic updates on how they're doing. And Eva is very focused on her project, learning to be free, and wants other survivors to really tell their story. She's going across the heartland, if you will, the Midwest, to get those survivors to tell their stories.
Very important. Mike, thanks so much for bringing us that story tonight.
Absolutely.